So as of today, I played D&D for about 4 years, and I've learned a lot since I started playing. I've been a player at times, but I mostly stuck DMing because no one else wants to, and I'm a control freak. I'm just kidding. But I like to build worlds. That's like my thing. I really want to become a concept artist when I grow up. As if I'm not fucking already almost 18. But I don't know. I want to be a concept artist. I really like making stories and characters and art, and DMing is a great way to do that. Even though you're not making a character, you're still making a bunch of other characters and rules and all these other little things that I find really cool. Also, if you hear background noise, that's my brother and anyone else who's in the house right now. I asked for them to be quiet, but I mean, it's a small house. What can you do? I've played in only 2 games, although it's about to be 3, but not anytime soon. And comparatively, I've DM'd for 7 games, with the most recent game I've been running lasting for like a whole school year, and it is most likely set to be run past that too. Fun fact, it takes place in the same world as my solo campaign. If you want to learn about my solo campaign, you can go check out my Unvale. I post all of the characters' lore, all the art I have on there. I also have an Instagram and a Bluesky, and I'm on Artfight. If you want to like draw my characters, you can go see that. And the link to those will be in my bio, but also in the description of this video. I want to share my experiences with D&D, and more specifically DMing. For those that plan to be DMs or just players interested in a TTRPG, that way you can kind of see what it's like on the DM side of things. I think it's important for me to make this video because of those reasons. But it's also good to see where I've come from that, and like what changes I made to my style of gameplay as I've played over the time. Before we start though, I should probably answer what I'm drawing. For my first video, I made a thumbnail, and for the second video, which is this video, I made another thumbnail, and I recorded both of them. Unfortunately, I realized that I made the thumbnails too big, so YouTube like cut off the full image. So I wanted to post them on this video as just like some background footage. I put like a lot of little detail into the thumbnail for this one, and sadly it's all covered because YouTube cut it. But I mean, I guess you'll see what it looks like in this video anyway, which is a win-win. Alright, so into the actual video. I want to start by talking about my time as a player first, because there's not that many times. But it's also to show how I became a DM in the first place. My first character, voice crack, my first character was from middle school. I would say 7th grade, I'm pretty sure. 6th or 7th grade. No, not the joke. Don't make the joke. Oh god, I feel like I have to burp. Okay, there it is. Okay, sorry. Alright, anyway, first character. His name was Lucas Claudregard, and he was... I didn't know anything about the game, and I wanted him to be like a werewolf. And I made him because I didn't know anything about the game, and he was like an OC I had at the time. For like a video game I wanted to make in the future, and I still do want to make in the future, so I'm not going to say too much about this guy or any guy that I've made. But basically, he's a werewolf-like character, and he's been living in the woods. He's been raised by wolves. It's that story. Except I wanted to make a twist in it so that it deviates both from his like backstory in the game I want to make and the D&D one, so I can show like I can be creative. And The creativity comes when he kills his entire family, and by that I mean the wolf pack. He was a druid, because my DM wouldn't want me to be an actual werewolf, and druid is like the next thing similar to that, because they can shift into wolves. And that is not good, because druid's a really hard class to play. I actually kind of understood it, but it was annoying. Anyway, I didn't do a lot for the backstory because I wanted to just see what it was like playing first. And when we were playing, my friend who was DMing didn't really account for anyone's backstory anyway, because he was also trying to learn the game mechanics because we were all new. Not much happened during this game, since my DM friends never showed up often to progress very far, but it got me super invested in the game through just sheer curiosity, and I began to watch a lot of like D&D videos on YouTube. By the way, the only reason I got into D&D is because he told me to watch Stranger Things. And then that's how I learned what that was. But about the YouTube videos, they weren't really the good ones, like being really informative ones. It was more like what your favorite D&D class says about you, or my problem player acts like the main character, or top 10 DM freakouts, like stupid clickbaity stuff like that. And in my head, I was like, man, my DM kind of sucks. If I was a DM, you would not catch me making those mistakes. Maybe I should just DM. And then I would ask myself, who would I play with? Like, I don't have that tight of a schedule, but I know other people do. Oh, I know. I'll play with my family, who hates D&D, and then I'll convert them into fans of the game by showing them just how awesome it can be. Oh my god, that was an awful choice to make. The session with my family took very long to start, because as I was making the game, I realized just how much of a stereotype everyone's characters were, and I also found way better YouTubers during that time. They made me really rethink my entire process of DMing in general, which includes like not factoring in that they're a stereotype, or factoring in that they chose the same class or same race or anything. I forget that it's species now. And the most notable ones I were subscribed to were Pointy Hat and Ginny D. Shout out to both of them because they're both amazing creators. You should go watch their videos. And the only time I found everyone available to play was when we went camping. And I didn't have my phone. I mean, I had it, but there was no internet. So I couldn't look over things if I needed a fact checked. And I really needed that because I messed up on a lot of stuff. I didn't know how AC worked, so everyone had a much higher AC and no one could land their attacks, which led to really long combat. I also made everything a roll, which is a little funny because there was this moment where my mom's character, I forget her name, fell down a flight of stairs for really no reason and started choking because, like, on dust because she rolled a natural 1. It was funny, but from a new player's perspective, that's awful. That's so bad. And that's terrible DMing because, like, there's no point in the story. Like, just let her climb up the stairs. Like, it's not that hard. Anyone can climb stairs. And it was just a mess. Like, the whole thing was a mess. It was made worse because I learned that no one wanted to be there. And that made me question my own skills, of course. My brother is the kind of player who doesn't like to roleplay because he thinks he's too cool for it. So all he does is cause chaos. And my older sister claimed I wasn't playing right because I didn't incorporate her into the story, which led to her making decisions to get away from the rest of the party. I tried to explain to her I wasn't, but my mom and dad just told me to deal with it, and everyone left with a salty taste in their mouth as I ended the session earlier than I wanted to. We never played in that world again. I kind of gave up on D&D after that, not only because other people were being mean to me, but because I genuinely thought I failed as a DM, which meant I failed as a player too, because I didn't understand anyone's wants. So, and not only that, but I didn't understand combat very well, so it just meant that my previous knowledge was all fake, and the new knowledge I gained wasn't properly applied. Only later did I find out that original 5th edition was actually very hard to learn for DMs, and all my players were problem players. Like, I learned that my brother was a chaos agent who only existed to disrupt the game. My parents were only involved in their story dynamic compared to everyone else. But their characters were boyfriend and girlfriend, and they didn't care about what everyone else was doing, they just cared about those two characters. And my sister made a backstory that basically made her into an NPC. I learned afterwards from a Ginny D video, could you believe it, that my sister made a backstory that had no relevance to the plot, and therefore was a pain to incorporate her in. I remember trying to explain to her that she made a backstory that I couldn't really incorporate in the game, hence why she didn't feel like she was incorporated in the game. And that kind of boosted my confidence, sadly, into DMing again, because I was like, oh, I recognize my faults now, I can try again. And I also recognize other people's faults. For a long time, everyone was mad at me because of the whole backstory thing with my sister, but after I showed them that video, that changed. So, anyway, let's not rehash that. Around the time of my revelation, high school was starting, and I joined their D&D club. I wanted to be a player because I knew I needed to learn some things before I DM again, and found a group I've played with for about 2 years. During my time playing with this group, it was very fun. I played as a character from the same world as Lucas, but instead of a druid, he was a bard named Jace Shiverstone. Then I switched characters in the second year to a different character because I lost Jace's character sheet. I felt that my roleplay itch wasn't really being scratched during this time, and I couldn't really figure out why. That was before I started watching actual plays. Most notably Critical Role, second shout out of the day. I put off watching live plays, and especially Critical Role, because their videos were 4 hours long, and that sounded so absurd to me, especially when the club would really only play for 1 to 2 hours. Only after watching them did I realize that the reason it's 4+ hours is because they lean heavy into the roleplay and the storytelling, which was what I wanted from the game. Even in Campaign 4, the Soldiers Table, there's still a lot of roleplay there. It's not all combat. It's more combat, but it's not all combat. The campaign I was in was fun, but it was all combat. It was just a silly meat grinder, if anything. Junior year, I decided I was going to DM this time, and I didn't have to feel guilty about leaving my party, because our DM was quitting anyway to focus on school. I started my solo campaign around this time too, which really helped me learn how things worked. Because I started it though, I made a world, so I made the world of Mithril around this time, and I started doing a whole bunch of things for it, and I knew it the back of my mind. Before any of the junior year campaigns happened, I also ran 4 other games. 2 were for my cousins, and the other 2 were for my wrestling friends. Nothing really came of these campaigns. Mostly everyone left with a good impression of the game, which made me feel more confident. I did realize, however, that after retrying to DM for my family again, that sometimes people just aren't meant to play D&D. That sounds harsh, but what I mean is that some of the players from my other campaigns, including my brother and sister, always felt like a sour taste in their mouths. It wasn't until my 6th time DMing did I realize that they didn't want to be there because the game was bad. They just didn't want to be there because they weren't interested in any of it. No matter how much I would convince them in ways like, oh, they have like elves in here. You can be whatever you want. Like, it doesn't even have to be fantasy. It can just be like sci-fi. It can literally be anything. They still weren't interested, and that's fine. Not everyone's going to be interested. But you really shouldn't force anyone who isn't interested to play, because then they're not going to participate properly, and their attention won't be full. They won't be invested in it. If someone's new to the game, it's fine because they're new. They don't know anything about it. But if they're not interested the first time, you don't have to try a second time. It might go bad if you try a second time. But the 6th campaign that I ran for my family was very sad, and for a couple of reasons. The only reason I was running it was because my mom saw that famous Deborah Ann Wall teaches John Bernthal to play D&D video, and said that we need to try again. She was so excited to try again, and she saw how much work I was putting into my solo campaign and just wanted to play in that world because she's heard so much of it. I then got so deep into the world building and D&D prep that I had their level 1 PCs planned to be like level 20 over like a bunch of sessions, because I thought what I'd planned would be appealing to them and that this would be the time they actually get invested. Then we went camping again, and I was able to play with them. My Nana had to play as my dad's character because he couldn't go camping with us at the time. But that's fine, because she also got to learn about the game. Everything was going well, but my brother was doing what he normally does and pissed people off. Not just me, but mainly my mom. During a crucial moment in the story that led to them coming together, my mom pointed a sword at a little kid who was asking for help, and everyone was freaking out and getting angry at her, but because my brother kept talking shit above board, she got confused on what was roleplay and what was real. I tried to explain it to her, but she was already really mad because of stuff my brother was doing beforehand, and he wasn't making it any better. I ended up ending that session early again, and I thought the past had just repeated over again, and it wasn't great. And also because that whole situation could have been avoided, because in the moment, her pointing the sword at the kid's throat sounds like heresy, but with the context of the story, it makes so much sense. She is like this divine cop, essentially, and she just discovered this underground civilization that's occupying a ruin of evil gods, and there's this little girl she just doesn't trust at all. And yeah, the little girl's asking for help, but how trustworthy is this little child who is living in a place she'd never thought existed? Like, it makes a bunch of sense, and I tried to explain it to my mom, but she was so mad I couldn't. However, my sister, the same person who got mad at me for not being a good DM, came up to me and said that she really liked the game. She liked how I explained how to be involved in the story, and even though she was very quiet, she liked how she was able to just interject, and people were able to listen to her. And not only that, but my Nana called out my brother's behavior, and she really liked the game too, even though she was confused about the actual mechanics of the game. So these two people, who never really gave D&D another thought, are suddenly interested because I was able to teach them. I didn't just throw them in the deep end like I did most likely the first session. I mean, the first time I ran a campaign. I actually made sure to talk through them and go slow, which is a very important skill for a DM to have, which is to know when to go fast and know when to go slow and teach your players, and just listen to everyone. Later, I told my mom about how it wasn't fair to her, and now we're planning to redo the session with just her and I. All of that combined helped me boost my confidence for the third fucking time for my first ever real campaign. Oh my god, excuse me. I will say this too. I was a very quiet kid because I was very scared of being picked on. No one wanted to bully me because they didn't know what to bully me with. That mindset has to go away if you want to become a DM. This is because role-playing requires you to speak, and at times it's going to be silly while expecting abnormal things to happen. And if you really want to get good, voices become important, and so does stuff like sound effects. You don't need to do that stuff, but it does enhance people's experience with it. Because I was much more comfortable in my skin and in my skills, I put my name in the Google form for the players to vote on whose table they wanted to play at in my D&D club at school. Everyone had to pitch in their world setting and overall DM style to every player, and I didn't know that. People made these very detailed slideshows and had many props to convince people to join their games, and that got me a little nervous that no one would join mine because I didn't have anything flashy. However, I was already friends with 2 of the DMs that are in that club, and I had talked to them about my world. They were really confident that people would join my campaign, especially because I said I would be able to handle 8 players at most, which I am capable of handling, especially at this point that I've already been handling it. So I went in front of the class, and I presented the whole thing with only my passion, my words, and a smile on my face. The votes came in, and I had a full table, full 8 players. 2 of them had to leave because of scheduling issues, but everyone else has stuck around so far, and are really excited for what's to come. I've also had like guests appear. One of the DM friends came to play, and it's been very fun. I've definitely learned a lot so far, and I'm very proud of myself for sticking with this game for as long as I have, because most people would not be sane enough to do something like that. Here's my takeaway from all these experiences, because what's a video without a takeaway? The first one, anyone can DM, but being a DM takes huge commitment and effort. More than a player would have to commit to. If you like to build a bunch of characters and build like worlds, how a world works, laws, both laws of physics and like social laws, DMing is most likely for you. 2, the rules don't matter as much as the experience does. A good knowledge of how the rules... that was weird. A good knowledge of how the rules work is good, but the most important knowledge you need is how to tell a collaborative story. Number 3, not everyone likes D&D. Not everyone is respectful when playing D&D, and not everyone is brave enough to engage in D&D. As a DM, you need to learn who these people are and make the right decision to show them how to play and invite them, or just tell them to leave. 4, you may get stuck with this position, as people will see you as the only one who's smart or brave enough to take on this role. And it is a challenging role. Make sure you take times to be a player, whether that be through a solo campaign, or by asking a player to DM on occasion, or by finding another group that you can play with, because you are a DM, but you're also a player. Like, you're part of the story. Number 5, don't forget that even though you're not an actual PC in the story, you are a player in the game. If DMing isn't fun for you, don't be afraid to not DM anymore. I would suggest trying it though, especially if you know that your actual forever DM needs a bit of a break. It's just give them the kindness. Anyway, that's all the takeaways. I'm sure there's more, but I can't think of any. Comment below if you're a fellow forever DM, and don't be afraid to share some advice. After all, the next big world builder could just be a young kid who stumbled on this video. Also, if you liked this video, please consider subscribing. It's free and it helps out a lot. By the way, this video was mainly about my D&D stories. If you guys are interested in how exactly I DM, let me know in the comments. I'm sure I do some very strange things that you guys would not expect at all. Anyway, That's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.